All right, greetings, one and all. I'm just popping on to announce that tonight we will be watching episode 2 of Doom Patrol. So last night we watched episode 1. So if anyone missed the first episode and they want to join tonight, you've still got a few hours. So you could go ahead and watch episode 1 of Doom Patrol. It's a show that came out last year. There's only one season of it. Let's see, what else do I need to say? So the starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think Shane will be there a few minutes early. So if you want to show up about 10 minutes early, that's fine. We might talk a bit first, but the episode 2 could start at any point after 9 p.m. We watched the first episode last night. I said that we might record the conversation after. We didn't end up doing so. But it was a great hangout party. So far, all of these things seem to go for like 5 hours, or one of them even went for 7 hours. And feel free, if you catch this later and you're not going to make it for the episode, but you just want to pop on later. A lot of the conversation afterwards was about the show, and a lot of the conversation wasn't as well. Let's see, for anyone else who's new to this, just coming across it, if you're shy or anything like that, feel free to just turn your camera off, leave your mic muted. Zoom links in the description, and I don't think there's anything else I need to say about that. I was intending to just do the same thing as the past couple, just pop right off, but I'm realizing the last bunch of Lunatic lives have been nothing but that. I've been putting quite a lot of energy into these watch parties because they've been going very well. So if anyone does have anything they want to say or ask, I could stick around for a little while. I'm not going to live stream for hours or anything, but if anyone does have anything, and if not, I think I got all the information out about tonight's party. 5.5 hours from now is when it starts. So I see a couple people are watching. I'm just going to wait a minute to see if anyone has anything to say. And if not, I'll just end this and hopefully see some of you this evening. All right, well, it seems like that's it. So here's another short announcement for the party tonight, and I will try. Oh, hey, Roller Girl's here, saying hello from Las Vegas. Great to see you. How you doing today? And I don't know if you've been to any of the parties or not. I didn't see the name Roller Girl at any of the parties, but you might have been on one of the Zoom calls under your real name. Have you made it to one of the parties? Or is this your first hearing about them? So far, they went really, really well. Usually have a group somewhere around 10 people. And we've talked about all kinds of stuff. It's been nice because up until now with the channel, I've been doing one of two things. I've either been, streaming, doing something public, or, posting videos, or I've been doing a lot of private sessions over the last year as well, where it was just one-on-ones with audience members talking them through shit. These Zoom hangouts are a nice in between, where no, it's not public, and no, I'm not talking to everybody out there, but it's also not as honed down as being just a one-on-one call with me and one other person. So I've really enjoyed having these small groups from the community show up and getting to have that personal attention, that one-on-one interaction, but in a small group dynamic. I found it really enjoyable, and from the feedback I've gotten, a lot of people have really enjoyed it. So I'm glad you're doing well, Roller Girl. Yeah, so this is something new we just started doing since the situation with everyone social distancing and feeling locked inside and bored, lacking social connection. Um, we decided to start hosting some watch parties. They don't always involve watching a movie or anything. We did one that we were just talking throughout. Other nights, we've watched a couple movies so far. Super by James Gunn. We've watched The Day the Earth Stood Still. Um, we watched Beauty and the Beast. And yeah, last night was when we started. We're trying a TV show now. So Doom Patrol, I thought was just a great show. But also, it brings up lots of topics about mental health, psychology, therapy, personal transformation, putting your life back together. It also brings up interesting philosophical ideas. Magic will come up at one point, the nature of reality. It also touches on some subjects that have been brought up often by social justice warrior types. But I think the show does it in an excellent way. I have seen some criticism. Some people said this show was polluted with social justice issues, whereas I would disagree with that. I like the way they worked certain issues into the story, and I thought they did a very good job overall. So I chose this show for those two reasons. One, it's a very fun show, very, very well done. And beyond that, I think each episode will open up very well for group discussions. Oh, another nice thing about this show is the season one is a 15 episode season that has a nice story arc that goes the entire way through. But it's also got a nice complete story for each episode. So if anyone didn't see episode one and is joining tonight, it would be great if you had a chance to watch episode one. However, I do think this is a show that even if you just watched any one episode from the middle, a lot of the episode, like certain things would definitely go over your head. But I still think each episode contains a nice arc within it and feels like a complete story. And last night was fantastic. I was thinking actually that we might watch 2 or 3 episodes because I was really feeling like watching the show. But after we watched the first show, it just unfolded into 4 hours of conversation. And just the one episode was enough to keep us going. So we just watched one last night. And yeah, as I said previously, if you're shy, Roller Girl, feel free. Like some people just show up and do nothing but observe. Also, there's the text chat option. So some people turn on their mics and talk, but keep their face hidden because they're more comfortable that way. Some people turn their mics and cameras on. Some people only talk in the text, never even turn on their mics. And some people just show up and observe silently. Absolutely, however you're comfortable participating is more than welcome. And it's nice and easy. You just click the Zoom link and it takes you right in. Also, while we're watching things, everyone keeps their mics off, but you're free to comment in the text chat throughout the show. And if at any point there's something where you want it paused so that you can discuss something, if you write that in the chat and Shane sees it, he'll pause the show at the next sort of good point so that we can interrupt it and have a bit of a discussion. Roller Girl says, okay then, thank you. Watching from my iPhone, haven't tried Zoom. Okay, cool. Well, I hope it works for you. And so it's 9 p.m. tonight. Shane will be there probably a few minutes early, start letting people in. But I'll be there at 9. And also, like some nights, some people show up just for the last hour or two. So if someone comes across this and it's already, 11 or even midnight, the longest one of these has gone is 7 hours, and none of them have been shorter than 4 hours. So even if it's well past 9 o'clock, if you're bored, feel like popping in, Once we're gone, the link will stop working. So if you're not sure if it's still going, if it's late tonight and you don't know, feel free to just give it a try. So you're fairly new. You're the only one commenting, Roller Girl, so far. Anyone else who wants to say anything, feel free. I'm sort of overtired and I've been doing a lot lately, so I'm getting some shit confused. But are you new to the channel that, what was it? Did I see you pop up when, on Roger's birthday, when Roger Strachan and Ryan did their live stream? I'm thinking that that was when you turned up, and at that point you were just new to the channel, and you're saying, yeah. Curious, how did you come across that stream? How did you find our channel? Okay, so you're saying, yes, that's right. I hadn't seen you until now. Well, I'm glad you found your way here. I'm kind of curious how it came up. Were you searching for something in particular, or did the algorithm just put that thumbnail in front of you and you happened to click on it? Don't really remember. Nothing wrong with that at all. Well, at the moment, you've got my full attention. If there's any topic you want to bring up, seeing as how you're new to the channel, if you want to ask me about anything, I'm all ears. And beyond that, yeah, I hadn't intended to stay on. This was going to just be a quick 1.5 minute thing. But then as I was going to wrap it up, I realized that the last whole bunch of Lunatic lives have been nothing but that. So I'm happy to stick this out a little longer if anyone's interested in anything. But on the other hand, I also don't really feel that I have anything particular to talk about. So I'm open to any questions, but don't really know what to ramble about in the meantime while I wait to see if any turn up. Oh, it just started snowing and hailing here. And Roller Girl said possibly your title of site matching the algorithm. Ah, I guess it must be something like that. How about anyone else of you nameless people watching? Anyone have anything they want to say? So Roller Girl says, tell me more about your site here, please. Sure. All right, fuck it. I'll just start back at the beginning. So for anyone who's watched me before, this will be boring and you've got the info about tonight. But for anyone just coming across this, so Andrew originally is the one who created this channel. It started out with him posting some video clips of Jordan Peterson. He discovered Peterson before he really took off. And oh, hey, James, good to see you here. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing you tonight, man. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so he had started posting some Peterson clips and he made some nice entertaining ones. We've got 3 of his old videos are still up, like Jordan Peterson on cocaine, roughly speaking, and You're More Powerful Than You Think. You sort it by oldest videos. Those first 3 are ones Andrew made. And then Andrew also used the channel to go through the self-authoring program and do a lot of work on himself. He had some great podcasts. He did one with Jordan Peterson. He did a couple with Jonathan Pajot. He had Jason Louv on. But anyway, at a certain point, Andrew had achieved, like he was using the channel to push himself to making personal changes in his life. And at a certain point, he started achieving a certain amount of it, but also he found that after a while of talking about very personal things online, he got tired of that, and I suppose felt overexposed and decided to step away from doing it anymore and sort of to stop working on sorting himself out publicly and to just move into going ahead and living his life. And he wanted to be more private. He didn't want to just abandon the channel, though, like delete everything. He had built up a decent community that he really appreciated, and he didn't want to just abandon them. He wanted to leave something going so that people could keep working on sorting themselves out. And I had come across his channel, and because I'm bipolar and crazy and talk to imaginary things, I have my angel that I talk to on a regular basis. Well, archangel, technically. And my archangel told me to subscribe to Andrew's channel. I came across it because of Peterson. It was the Peterson interview. And at that point, I didn't use YouTube like social media at all. I didn't even like subscribe to shit. But I subscribed to his channel and got the impression I was supposed to keep my eye on Andrew and that I would help him one day somehow. And when I first got the message, I asked my angel how, and my angel just said, don't worry about it. It's just subscribe for now. Just know that, and you don't need to worry about it. I'll let you know when there's something to do. And eventually one day, I saw a thumbnail of, well, I watched Andrew's stuff occasionally when he was running the channel. I liked when he discussed philosophy or Jordan Peterson. He had a lot of content, though, that was about exercise and diet. Excellent content, just not content that I consume. I'm not really interested in those topics. So I didn't watch Andrew that much. But he had one video went up, and it had magic in the title, spelled with a K, which is an interest of mine. And so I clicked on that video, and as I watched it, Andrew juxtaposed something Jordan Peterson had said with something Alan Moore said, both about whether or not the gods are within our minds or in the external reality makes very little difference as to whether or not there are gods. So both Jordan Peterson and Alan Moore have said different versions of the same thing. And when Andrew addressed that, I thought, oh, wow, this is fantastic. Someone else who sees that weird connection between some of Peterson and Alan Moore's work. And my angel said, yeah, see, we told you, go ahead, send him a message. And the impression I got from Andrew's video was that he knew less about magic than he was showing. I got the impression he was more recently introduced to it. So I reached out to him thinking that he might enjoy having someone just to discuss that with. When I finally, and so I reached out to him just through the channel email, and Andrew responded. He was talking to a lot of people back then. I was surprised to find that once we got talking, he knew more about it than I thought he did. But he did really appreciate having someone else who knew about it to discuss things with. And for a while, like Andrew and I became friends, but also at times there was somewhat of a mentoring relationship to a certain degree, that Andrew was asking me advice on shit, and I was giving him a lot of feedback on the channel. And sort of Andrew would often use me to, when he was trying to work something out, either in his own personal life or on the channel, he was often using me as a sounding board. So a lot of the time, it wasn't even about the advice I was giving him. It was about having someone else, you know, the way a dialogue helps you develop your ideas and bring things out. So Andrew was using me that way. And sorry, not using in the bad sense. Like, we became very close friends. But so when he was done with the channel, I guess the other thing would be that when he was still doing the channel, I did 3 podcasts with him. So at a certain point after we'd gotten to know each other, he asked me if I wanted to do a podcast, and he was nice and patient. He let me build up to it. So the same way that some people are writing into me at the moment and talking a bit privately and building up to doing podcasts. Originally, I was that way with Andrew. My podcasts with him were well received. A bunch of people, I noticed Grizz in particular, commented on the first one that I should have my own channel. Some people asked for more content with me. And so when Andrew was ready to move on from doing the channel, at first he talked to me about taking it over myself. I had mixed feelings about that, and I tended to deflect and to tell Andrew that we would figure that out when he was sure he wanted to walk away from the channel. Because a couple times he talked about walking away from it, then started doing it again. But by the time he was finally certain that he was done with the channel, he decided to ask both me and Ryan Holsapple to take it over. And Ryan had seen my podcast with Andrew, and Ryan had reached out and asked to talk to me. So I'd also done podcasts on Ryan's original channel called the Soul Tree Project. Me and Ryan's relationship also developed like Andrew's, where we became very good friends, and where Ryan would use me in between a therapist and a magician. But yeah, like we would talk through his issues together. So when he asked us to take it over, I really didn't know what to do with the channel. I couldn't have done it on my own. So I'm glad it ended up that he asked us to take it over together. And from a variety of sources, both imaginary friends and people in the real world, I got the message that this was something I was supposed to do. And I entered the channel I did quite a large ritual at the beginning of the channel. I made a powerful burnt offering, like a sacrifice, nothing living. But the goal of it was that, okay, look, I'm going to try to take over the channel. I don't know what to do with it, but the ritual was for guidance, and that whatever I do with the channel would be good for Andrew, his family, his community, would be good for me, my family, my community, would be good for Ryan, his family, his community, and would be good for the audience, their families, their communities. And I defined good with a capital G, saying, not my definition of good, but yours, like God's definition of good. So I accepted that if what would be good for everyone was that Ryan and I attempted to take over the channel, and we crashed and burned it, and that it didn't go anywhere, and that it was even maybe difficult and humiliating. But if that ultimately was what served all of our life paths properly, that I accepted that. I just wanted what was good, and I was letting go of defining that. And I've taken the whole channel in a very strange way, where I'm never fucking preparing for anything. I'm showing up and just trying to be present in the moment. I focus on speaking from the better parts of myself. I'm trying to just be authentic, honest, present in the moment, and loving, and allowing whatever fucking nonsense comes out of my mouth to come out. And I don't like watching myself at all. I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I get all fucking cringy if I was to watch this after. I would feel really shitty about the way I'm coming across. So I don't watch myself. And the way I judge what I'm doing, because like you need some sort of, most YouTubers would watch themselves, evaluate what they're doing so that they can change things and improve. Because I can't watch myself. Instead, I'm taking the feedback from the audience. So people in chat, the comments under the videos, the private messages I receive, the private conversations I have, and especially now at these parties, that feedback is how I'm evaluating what I'm doing and changing what I'm doing going forward. Now, that was a lot of rambling. Did that all make sense, Roller Girl, or was any of that confusing? Do you have any follow-up questions? Ann Smith is here. Welcome, Ann. Because of this channel, I'm looking into finding a Jungian psychologist. I've talked to people for years, but don't feel I've gotten to the root of anything. I'm learning a lot from you all. Thank you so much for sharing that. That means a lot to me. Because Ryan and I put quite a lot of work into this channel. It takes a lot more energy than I would have thought. Also, beyond that, other people now, I mean, Andrew invested a lot in this channel and handed it over. Ryan and I have put a lot into it. Riz has put a lot of energy into it. And both Shane and Nolan have come on as members of the team now. They're both officially part of the team and helping with technical stuff. Or we've all seen the way Shane's the one helping me host the parties, because I both can barely use a computer and my computer can't handle, it's a piece of shit. So I can't stream anything. I couldn't run a Zoom party even if I had the technical abilities because of my equipment, but also I don't have the technical abilities. So Grizz is taking a little break from, he's done quite a lot, and he's just stepping back to relax and focus on some other things for a while. But both Nolan and Shane have stepped up to volunteer, and they're going to be taking over everything that Grizz was doing and possibly a few other things as well. So it's, yeah, right. And the point of that was, so it's really nice to hear that feedback from you or James when you came on and we got all that follow-up info about things that have gone well in your life. That's really nice to hear, because more and more people are putting more and more energy into creating this. So it's nice to know that it's actually helping people. And Smith says, I also wanted to say thank you for all the things you and Ryan have been doing to keep us company and alleviate boredom. You've been doing a lot, and I'm hoping you're holding up all right. Thank you. And yeah, I'm holding up all right, and I'm very surprised by that, actually. Former versions of me would not be maintaining the pace I'm maintaining now, especially for anyone who's kept up with recent Lunatic lives. I've had a hard time recently. I went through a bit of a breakdown, or not a bit of, I went through like a major breakdown. That intensity of bipolar experience, I don't know what to call it, that intensity of extreme states would have knocked me right out of control and would have taken much longer to get back under control than it did this time. I handled it in a way I never have before. Recently, I've really noticed that my abilities as a lunatic magician have seemed to have leveled up powerfully. I do feel lately like I'm riding a unicycle down a hill while juggling. When Peterson sometimes talks about athletes pushing themselves beyond where they know they're capable of performing, like when they're pushing themselves to that limit and doing things that they can't necessarily or haven't necessarily been able to do before, with handling my lunacy, difficulties in life, and operating this channel. Recently, I feel like I'm in that zone where this is beyond what I knew I was able to do, but I'm handling it. And I can't make any guarantees how long I can keep this up. But it's going surprisingly well so far. And I think I've got this. Mike says, I provided a sacrifice, nothing living. For someone so serious, you can be pretty damn funny sometimes. Yes, I've gotten that feedback quite a bit, and I like that. I don't mind in the least when I'm being completely serious and it makes people burst out laughing. It's not laughing at me. Fuck it. Yeah, I'm tired, so I don't know how to explain it. A couple people have checked with me if that bothers me. Or, for example, at the first Zoom party, someone new showed up, like someone who was invited by a community member. So it was their first time seeing anything to do with me, and asked about the channel. I described Ryan and his credentials and whatnot. And then I said, and as for me, my expertise is that I'm bipolar. And again, I wasn't trying to be funny at all. I was just trying to succinctly explain the situation. And that just made everyone at the party burst out laughing the way I said it. And I can totally see why it's funny, but I wasn't trying to be funny. However, someone did check with me privately after, which was really sweet. Like, hey, just wanted to check with that you didn't feel people were laughing at you and such. And not at all. I thoroughly enjoyed that moment. I like making people happy. And I know that I'm odd enough that me being completely serious can be hilarious at times. And Cameron says a lot of famous actors don't watch themselves. Clive Owen, Anthony Hopkins. Okay, I didn't know about that about those two, but I think I'd said this at a recent party when I was talking to people that I'd known that about Johnny Depp a long time ago, like before I went crazy. I remember seeing an interview with Johnny Depp where he was talking about the fact that he doesn't watch any of his movies at all. And the old me found that just unfathomable. I thought, if you're in these movies and putting all that work into it, how could you not want to see the final product? But now that I'm doing this, I understand it completely. Because, yeah, that same older version of me that didn't understand it with Johnny Depp, I can tell also wouldn't understand it with me. Even if I explained the way it made me feel, the old me would have thought, like, no, come on, still, you've got to want to watch yourself if you're putting it out there. You would want to see what everyone else is seeing. But the current lunatic version of me understands why those actors do that. Mike says, I hate my own voice too. It doesn't sound like how I hear it, and it throws me off. And excellent. Roller Girl followed with my explanation. Yeah, in the same way, I don't like the sound of my voice. It's different than the way it echoes in my own skull. Also, I don't like the way I explain things. Have you ever read a really good book and then you watch a shitty movie of it? And perhaps someone who never read the book or been exposed to that story might think that movie was pretty good. But you having read the book or like that movie's a piece of shit. I feel like the way I experience my own thoughts are a quality book. And when I observe what I'm saying to try to express my thoughts, I'm like, that's a shitty made for TV movie version of the book. So while people have given me feedback that I'm eloquent, I speak well, that they really enjoy the way I explain things, that certain things, they'll send me a quote of something I said that they love the way I said it. I don't have that experience when I watch myself, even when I watch the clips, because, I occasionally do watch some, like I've forced myself at certain times. Recently, we were working on editing together a video as like a introductory video for the channel. I force myself to watch some footage, or occasionally when Grizz or Andrew or someone recommends a clip to isolate from something, I'll check it out. But even when I'm looking at the things that other people say I explained very well, when I listen to it, I'm like, no, that's not good. The thought behind it is better. So I find it difficult to watch myself. But with the exception of, for some purpose, like if we're trying to edit some clips into a video or something, I've forced myself to watch myself a bit lately with that. But I also don't push it too hard. I got burned out on that. And so we haven't finished the video that me and Ryan are working on for the channel. Part of that is because Ryan's busy. So he did some work on it and then it's been busy, but also part of it is because I got kind of burned out watching myself and needed a break from that. But we are also on the topic of clips. Now that we've got Nolan and Shane on board, if they end up having the time and energy and inclination to do so, we're going to start trying to go through older material, long stuff, and removing clips that are nice on their own. Because I've gotten some feedback that there's great clips and longer content, but people who would appreciate the clips aren't going to find them because, let's say it's 10 minutes of me talking on suicide, but it's in a 2.5-hour video called Under a Frozen Moon. There's no way someone's going to find that. So I've gotten feedback, or, if it's a long 2.5-hour podcast me and Ryan do, and at one point we talked to our guest about a certain subject, I've gotten the feedback that it would be better to start isolating those clips, giving them a title that makes it clear what content is in the clip so that people can find those things. That's something that hopefully now that we've got a bigger team, we can start doing more. But the one thing that anyone in the audience can do is if anyone does go through any of our old material and you come across something like in something long that you feel would make a nice clip that you feel was either helpful to you or you think it would be helpful to other people, if you email the channel just letting us know what video it is and the timestamp, we'll definitely read all of those. And I imagine we'd throw the majority of them up, if not all of them. Like, it's possible we would look at it and think that the clip wasn't worth it, but it's something we're looking to do. And the one sort of bottleneck of that will be that none of us really have time to go back and watch old shit. So if you're a part of the community, you feel like you want to do something to help out and you don't know what else to do, and you feel like going through some old stuff, regardless of what it is, if you want to watch some Lunatic lives, or if you want to go through the Roger Strachan playlist and listen to, the long conversations between Ryan and Roger, we would really appreciate that. And look at that. You guys got me going, and I've been on for over half an hour. So when I was feeling like, I don't know, guilty's not the right word. I don't know. I noticed that the last bunch of Lunatic lives had been nothing but 1 to 3 minutes introducing watch parties. I felt like, okay, fuck, that's great for the people who are showing up to the watch parties. But what about the people that have no interest in the watch parties and are seeing Lunatic live come up and are disappointed none of them are something they can watch on YouTube? So I'm glad this turned into me talking a bit, just in case there was anyone feeling disappointed that all the recent Lunatic lives don't contain any content. Mike says, glad to hear you're handling your manic episodes well. Can't be easy. Yeah, and actually, like, the breakdown involved flipping back and forth between manic and depressed. So I was experiencing extreme states on the manic end, like feeling psychosis, anger, all kinds of shit overwhelming me, like the psychosis pressing in. But also on the depressed side, I was having the equivalent of what panic attacks are to anxiety. I was having those like suicidal attacks compared to depression. But yeah, I got through it exceptionally well. I've talked about how before, so I don't think I'll try to describe how I went through the recent breakdown. But if you are curious about that, ask again some other time, and maybe I'll jump into it. Roller Girl says my boyfriend was diagnosed with bipolar. I think it's more like borderline personality disorder. Okay, actually, this is interesting. That came up when I recorded 2 podcasts with Dr. Oren Amate, the psychologist, and we haven't put them up yet, but those are going to go up soon. But we did talk about the fact that people with borderline personality disorder are very commonly misdiagnosed with bipolar before they're diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So borderline personality disorder is a tricky one where people will often get multiple diagnoses, including bipolar. And then eventually, like after having different therapists, give them different diagnoses, that eventually when it comes around to borderline personality disorder, that's the one that they realize it is. And it does matter whether someone's, and again, I don't subscribe to the medical model in its entirety at all. I believe that lunatics are shamans and all that mystical shit. But I also examine it all from the medical perspective. And the diagnostic labels are helpful because treatments and therapies for somebody who is borderline personality disorder can be different from those for someone with bipolar disorder. And it's good to be aware of what works for people, both in the psychiatric models and therapy models and spiritual models. It is helpful to look up what has been helpful for other bipolar people, specifically if you're bipolar, and for other borderline, if that's what you have. So it is helpful to know the difference. Cameron says, what do you think Dr. Peterson would think of the current crisis? My first thought on that, and I could be entirely wrong, is that he would say it's the perfect opportunity to focus on yourself, to clean your room. That for the majority of us, like unless you're working at the CDC or you're involved in making decisions about the economy, unless you're one of the essential workers or one of the people actively assigned to dealing with the current situation, for everyone who's not in that position, it's the perfect time to recognize what's out of your control, and it's time to clean your room, learn to tell the truth. If you're spending a lot of time at home with your family, now's the time to improve those relationships. And if you're spending a lot of time alone because of the current situation, now's the time to integrate your psyche and do some shadow work. So I think Peterson would encourage people to see the opportunity in this to, buy his book, 12 Rules for Life. It's a good time to read it and go through a lot of that. So that's what I would expect from Peterson. But I also expect, because he's been through something very powerful, difficult recently, his coma and all that shit. So if he were to come back now at this time, I would also expect that he may have grown or developed some new ideas. And I would not be surprised if he said something completely unexpected. When Peterson comes back on the scene, if he does, I will be watching for something new and unexpected from him, and I don't know what that would be. Roller Girl says, Prince passed 4 years ago today. He also did not look back at his work. He chose to create new and looking forward instead of looking back. Interesting. I didn't know that. Mike says, I'm terrible at telling stories. I get too caught up in details when I could easily embellish for entertainment purposes. Roller Girl says, makes sense, but at this point, I don't know what you're referring to, and saying you'll check it out. And Smith says, when you're speaking from the better parts of yourself, it really shows me areas I need to grow in ways I wasn't even previously aware. You're kind in a way that is enlightening. Oh, that's beautiful. That makes me feel really good. Thank you for saying that, Anne. And the majority of the time, I try to speak from the better parts of myself, but I have a few times allowed the more damaged parts of myself to speak on the channel. The purpose there was not to spread any negativity, but to show a bit of what I also deal with, either in depression or in a bit of an off state. So I've come on in those states a few times to share my experience, not for the sake of spreading the negativity, but for sharing to a certain degree how I handle the negative states. So I have revealed those to a certain degree, but predominantly I try to get in touch with the more enlightened parts of myself. And that's typically how I've prepared for things. If we had podcasts or if I have a guest session, whether it's being recorded or whether it's being private, I have a tendency not to prepare in the way other people would. Like when I had Andrea with the bangs on, it's not that I went through her content, got to know her, prepared questions or any of that. Instead, my preparation for recording that podcast, or the same thing with Dr. Amate, was to take care of myself earlier in the day, to do some meditation, to adjust my energy levels, to prepare myself emotionally, get myself into the present moment, activate the better parts of myself, and then just show up with a clear mind, open to paying full attention to the current moment and just responding honestly. And Shane says he's a nice guy. Peterson would say, nice? That's for fucking baby bunnies. But yes, I am nice. I like baby bunnies. All right, anyone have anything else? I pulled off 44 minutes, which makes me feel like I satisfied the whole not just dropping another announcement again and disappearing. And I do want to go take some time. I need a couple hours to meditate and re-energize. I spent a lot of energy last night of the party, and then we had a business meeting earlier today with the channel. The whole team got together, which drained a lot of my energy. So I think I do need to shut my big fat mouth and go recharge for a while for tonight's party. But I'm happy to answer one or two more questions if anyone has anything. And I really hope some of you are able to show up tonight. The parties are going far better than I even thought they would. Like, I thought they were a good idea, but they're going better than I would have expected. I'm finding it very like, it takes a lot of energy out of me. I kick into an extrovert mode and I do feed off everyone's energy when it gets going, but I find doing that tired. Overall, I am strongly an introvert. So it's like I get this flow of energy during the party at times, really picks me up. And then after it goes and that current shuts down, I feel very, very drained. But also, I've gotten some feedback on the parties that other people are getting a lot out of it, especially a few people with, we've got a great community here. There's certain things that seems almost everyone has in common. There's a uniqueness to each member. Nobody here's a sheep, but also there's a certain quality of intelligence. Yet on the other hand, there's a wide variety. We've got some very emotionally stable people, obviously very low in neuroticism. And we've got some very unstable people, like myself, people with a lot of social anxiety and depression. And that's one thing it's a nice mix because we get some people who show up at the party who are extroverted and talkative to get that whole atmosphere going. And we get some really shy people show up that don't talk at all. And I've gotten some feedback from some people who talk somewhat, and that's them really pushing themselves. So some people have shown up and have been really doing that whole Peterson thing of, if social shit's hard for you, expose yourself voluntarily, push until it feels like enough, and then retreat. Some people have been using the parties to do that, and I've gotten the feedback that they found it was a great environment to do so, and that they found it, although tiring and difficult, also very rewarding. And I'm really glad that's happening. And that's not just me providing that. So the private messages thank me, but everyone else there is creating that atmosphere with me. And so I kind of, without revealing who sent the private messages, I want to pass that thanks along to everyone else because I'm getting it directed at me. And we collectively are providing that environment for those people. Look, and not to separate them, they're creating the environment as well. We are creating that environment together for those of us who have a difficult time with social action and connection. And so, yeah, I just want to pass that on to all of you, that I really appreciate your participation. Mike says, I started talking to a life coach the other day and worked on making a schedule as I've been struggling with concentrating. Haven't stuck to it today because I was up too late last night. Do you have any 2 cents on sticking to a schedule? I am the wrong person to ask about that. Ryan is the side of the yin yang that represents a better model to follow than that. Now, what I'm about to say is not me saying that it isn't good to do everything you're saying. That's wonderful. I'm just fully aware that that is a weakness I have. I am not good with scheduling. It stresses me the fuck out. Order and structure stresses me the fuck out. I break down. That's why I've had to separate from society. I fall into habits. I sometimes impose loose structures on myself, but they arise from my desire to repeat an activity, and it only holds on as long as I still feel it. And so I'll fall into habits that might last days, weeks, or months, and then I fall right out of them. And if I try to discipline myself and say, okay, I'm going to exercise every day, or even just to say I'm going to exercise every day, or a schedule that I'm going to exercise 4 days a week, like throughout the year, that would freak me the fuck out. I would get too stressed out. I'd be working against my nature. My inner dark shit would get aggravated. The monsters would start getting grumpy, and I would gradually fall apart if I tried to force myself to conform to an order that I'm not comfortable with at this time. It would be better if I had the ability to do that. I don't. So I live a very chaotic life, and I'm much more comfortable in the chaos. Even the amount of scheduling I have to do with the channel is difficult for me. Knowing I have to do something at a certain time isn't easy on me. I'm trying to adapt to that. But I work with my own chaotic nature. Yeah, so I'm not the right person. Although part of me just said, actually, on another occasion when a different subpersonality is active, I could probably at a different time give advice on sticking to a schedule that are things I've observed have helped others and that I understand intellectually. But the part of me that's active right now really only feels able to talk from personal experience. So sometimes I can describe things that I understand intellectually and see in others, but at the moment I'm only feeling plugged into those things that work for me, and schedules don't work well for me. Roller Girl says, I appreciate your time too. Thank you very much. Mike said, haha, I thought that might be the case. And says, I have a problem where I either become completely engrossed in a task and overdo and get extremely stressed, or do very little. Yeah, me as well. I can get obsessed with something, run with it. And sometimes I'll see it through to the end. Other times I'll get obsessed with something. I'll be intending to move forward. I got this plan to finish it over the next week. And then suddenly, especially if I'm up in the manic, which, I am when I'm getting into something like that, then something else gets my attention and I'll just walk right away from that and leave it half finished. It's another good reason. Like, I couldn't have done this channel on my own to begin with, but even if I'd been able to get the channel going on my own, I would have wandered away from it by now if there wasn't someone else involved on it, someone else I felt responsible to. One of the times that I had a hard time, I had to take a break from the channel for a little while, and sometimes I would announce that publicly, other times I didn't. There were times I just let Ryan know, and we didn't even say anything, where I just backed off a bit while I dealt with something. If it wasn't for the fact that I had Ryan as a partner, I would have at one of those times wandered off from the channel, taken a break, and never come back to it. I'm sure of that. Because there are times where I was taking a break from the channel and thinking about it. I'd feel like the things arise in me, the thoughts of, oh, for fuck's sakes, I don't want to go back to that. And then the better angels of my nature would say, like, hey, this isn't just about you. Yeah, that line from Doctor Strange, it's not about you. Like, this time, this project isn't about you. This is about Ryan. It's about, like, what Andrew left you. It's about Grizz. It's about the community. So that focus of it not being about me, because usually every other project I'm doing is largely just, I live in my own world. But with the channel, it's not about me, and that's kept me coming back. But if I was doing it on my own, I would have wandered off and not come back for sure. And it never would have grown to this. So Mike says, I got you, man. No worries. Do you think Ryan will be in the watch party later? I don't know if he's going to show up tonight. Ryan's been really busy lately, so he pops in now and then. But yeah, I don't know if Ryan will be there. The only people I can tell you for sure will be there are me and Shane. Hi, Patty. Good to see you. Ben Grant says, Wagwan Lunatic. What does Wagwan mean? And is that word familiar to me and I'm just not placing? Again, I'm in a weird headspace right now. I'm not accessing memory well. Like I said earlier, I couldn't describe advice that I just understand at the moment. I'm feeling rather disconnected from the realness of reality at the moment. I'm a little floaty away into mind space right now. Mike says British thing. Wagwan is a British thing. So, and on the subject of who might be there tonight, I don't know if Ryan will be there tonight. Oh, also, I don't know if Andrew will be there tonight. Andrew, in particular, uh, being in Tonga, his internet isn't always reliable, so he can't always join the parties. But Andrew has made it to a couple parties, which has been very nice. So if anyone, like if we've got old school viewers here who are from back in the day when Andrew was around, Andrew has no intention of going back on YouTube at the moment. But if you miss, and talking about himself, but if you miss seeing his face and hearing updates on his life, he's been at a couple of the parties. So if we get really lucky, Andrew will show up tonight, and some people who've been missing him can get a chance. And Mike saying, I didn't know Andrew still came by. That's awesome. Yeah. Andrew's tried to come to a bunch of the parties. He's only been able to participate in 2 of them, I think. But one night he had a great connection. And what I found really nice, I didn't say it that night, I don't think, but at one point at one party when Andrew was there, we kind of switched into retro mode, where instead of a lot of the questions being directed at me, I, sort of pointed out, we've got Andrew with a good connection. I'm going to step back. Why doesn't Andrew talk with everyone for a while? And as Andrew was talking, I really enjoyed it because it was the middle of night for me. So like completely black outside. But as the party started, it was daylight for Andrew. And at a certain point when people were questioning him, and he had a good signal, so his camera was on, it was like I was able to watch the sunset behind him. And it was really peaceful and surreal to be sitting in the dark of the middle of the night here in Canada, listening to Andrew talk and observing the sunset in Tonga. That was a really, really nice moment for me. And Patty's asking if that's a Jamaican greeting, Wagwan, which I'm probably mispronouncing. James says, heading out, have a good day. All right, and so my question was, anyone here going to make it to the party tonight? It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shane will be there a little bit early, I think, like at least 10 minutes early. And I don't know if we'll start the show pretty close to right away. Sometimes we end up talking for an hour before we start anything. Other times we start it within 15, 20 minutes. And for anyone who missed it, we're doing episode 2 tonight. So you can just find wherever it is you watch television shows. If you watch episode 1, there's only 1 season of Doom Patrol. Then you'll be all caught up. And just because says I like Porden. Yeah, I like Porden B. Jeterson as well. He's a good guy. And wait, did I say goodbye to James? I probably did. If not, it doesn't matter. James knows I love him. Roller Girls saying Canada nice. Mike says, I figured you lived in Canada. You're always talking about snow when it's 60 degrees here. Yeah, I'm in Quebec. Roller Girl says, I'll drop in if I see the notification on my phone. Yeah, and no further notification will go out for the party tonight. It's just that at 9 o'clock, if you click the Zoom link, and sometimes it holds you in a waiting room for a moment and Shane has to let you in. Although I think there's a setting that he can turn that off, and we intend to have that turned off tonight so that when you click on Zoom, you just get connected directly. But if that's not on, you might get, please wait, the host will let you in, and Shane will let you in as soon as he notices that. Mike says, I may make it, probably won't stay long if I do. Yeah, and feel free to just pop in and out. Some nights, especially long ones, some people are there for the first hour and then leave for 2 hours and then pop back in for the end of it. And I've also noticed a couple people sometimes kind of pop in and out for short bursts. Ryan kind of does that sometimes because he's very busy. So sometimes he doesn't have time to really pop in and participate, but he just jumps in to observe for a minute. And Mike says, I have a group of friends I talk to on Discord around that time. Otherwise, I'd come by more often. Yeah, and also then there I'll plug, we also have a Discord. I'm not very active on the Discord, although that is where people can send me direct messages. And I do occasionally look through some of the stuff people post on Discord. But anyone who's not a member of our Discord, I don't know how to give you the link for it. But watch for the next time we've got Shane or Nolan or Grizz or someone around that'll provide a link. Because there are some interesting conversations going on Discord, and it's a really good group of people forming. And Roller Girl says it shows up because of the bell setting I chose. Okay, yeah, and actually, I know fuck all about computers, so maybe there's ways for people to give themselves notifications for this shit. I am extremely computer illiterate. I'm not good with computers at all. Yeah, sorry, I would like to give you a link for the Discord, but there's some shit about the links are only temporary, and I don't know how to generate one. Also, I don't know how to start a fucking Zoom meeting or anything. I'm a lot of the reason that we had to take on more audience participation. It's not Ryan. It's because I can barely use my computer. So up till now, Ryan and Grizz have had to walk me through shit and do shit for me. And now Shane and Nolan are coming on board to take on some of that burden. And just because it says only YouTube for me, Mike says, let me know if that works. And Roller Girl says, but it doesn't make a notification sound. I'm old school too. And I know it would be good for me to learn how to use computers more and get caught up on this shit. I've tried. Grizz has been very patient trying to show me more. My problem is the things I can't handle doing well. If I push myself too hard on that, it puts stress on my borders inside, and then the fucking gates to my internal Arkham Asylum fucking let loose, and all my internal negative chaos, like not the good chaos that I surf well, comes roaring out. And if I pushed myself harder to learn how to do the technical things at this time, I would just, it would be too much and I wouldn't be doing anything. So I'm being like, I'm trying to like humbly accept the help I need with the technical stuff so that I can focus on the emotional and intellectual things that I feel are what I'm contributing anyway. Like I'm not contributing technical expertise to this whole project. Ryan's far more that side of it. So I'm trying to focus on my lunatic magician shit and the emotional connections and whatnot. And just accepting help on the technical stuff. Hopefully at some point this will all be flowing more easily for me. Also, I'm always working on progressing. I do feel I've recently leveled up my abilities. As that continues to change, hopefully at some point I'll be able to take on the task of learning more about how to use the computer and doing more shit for myself, because I recognize that would be good. I'm just, yeah, at the moment, I already feel like I'm going downhill in a unicycle juggling. So I'm not going to push myself too hard to take on too many new things. And at that, I'm seeing we're at an hour. I am aware that I do have to take some time to pull myself together for tonight. So I shouldn't let this drag on for hours. And yeah, I just missed a call with Ryan. I should check in with him and see if anything's important there. So hopefully some of you can make it tonight. Feel free to pop in and out. Feel free to be muted and no camera and anonymous or participate. And if you can't make it tonight, Maybe you can make it to a future one. Sorry, I can't give a Discord link. The next time we've got a wrench, someone with a wrench here, we'll put one up. And yeah, I think that's good for today. So thank you all for spending a little time with me, and blessings and lunatic love to all.